Good morning first to all the parents who are here to this NS familiarization session that is being held for all our young boys who stand on the threshold of being trained to be guardians of our society here in Singapore. It's my proud privilege to welcome our two representatives from MINDEF, Mr. Harry and Ms. Lydia, who have specially agreed to give of their valuable time to speak to our students and enlighten them on their forward journey once they enter national service. Our thanks to Ms. Samantha for facilitating this entire interaction. We had opened this up for Dulwich, but they aren't here. They had actually requested, but they had some other event yesterday and so they are part of it. So for the team, they aren't here today. Though we are a foreign system school, we have always believed in integrating into the Singapore society and providing ample opportunities to our students and teachers to assimilate completely into the culture and life of Singapore. Another aspect that we at GIIS strongly believe in is to be proactive in providing for our students those that is to come, be it 21st century skills, be it attitudes, be it attributes, or be it national service. What we have done as a school is we have begun a pilot project in fitness training where we have invited all our students who are on the threshold to join national service to come. There's a session in the morning before school. There's a session after school where we are having special training provided for fitness towards the 2.4 kilometers run, the sit-ups, the push-ups. This is designed so that our students are well trained and fit before they get into the basic military training session. We ask parents to encourage your children. I know it can get very difficult. Boys would be tired, they would want to sleep in because this does happen earlier before school and then they have to stay back. Please encourage your boys to come, and boys who are here, please remember that this is in your interest. We want you to be mentally and physically fit before you leave and enter NS. This morning, I'm also happy to share with you that we have our GIIS alumni who have consented to give their time and share with you their fantastic experience that they've had in the 2 years. I'm also happy to share that we have a mom here who is going to talk about her story and what it went for her in the 2 years that her boy was doing national service. Of course, after our representatives speak and all our alumni speak, we will also have an opportunity for you to have all your burning questions addressed. So feel free to put your questions down through Pigeonhole, and we will have a panel here who will actually direct your questions with a moderator. And if you feel that it's not answered through Pigeonhole, we'll have an opportunity where our alumni will be around to address one-on-one questions. We do hope that this is a meaningful session for you parents and for our boys. And I also want to draw your attention that our compeers this morning are girls. We want our girls also to be aware of what national service is and what their brothers would have to do in the 2 years. So thank you all for being here, and I really hope that it's a wonderful experience for you and wish you a great weekend ahead.
We now proudly invite on stage our alumni who have successfully completed their NS training. Please put your hands together for Infantry Unit Section Commander Akshay Vengat and Infantry Section Commander Trainer Sachin Kumar Veersen Chanda, who will be sharing their experiences.
Good morning to everyone who is here. I'm Sachin, and this is my friend Akshay. So we'll be sharing our experience here and how we spent our 2 years. Next slide, please. Okay, some things about me. I graduated in May 2016. I enlisted on August 2016, ORD recently, August 2018. Currently I'm in NTU, pursuing aerospace engineering and econs.
So for myself, I'm same with Sachin. We were the same batch of May 2016. Then same like him, enlisted in August and ORD this year August. So I'm studying it now at NUS in quantitative finance. Okay, so for BMT, there's different types of BMT phases that you can go through depending on your fitness level or health issues. So the most common ones are the enhanced and PTP phase. So as for us, we both did the PTP phase, which is 4 months. So in doing so, you do the full 2-year cycle. But then I think I encourage you all to, the boys here, to try and pass your IPPT before, because we have had friends who managed to pass IPPT, so they were able to enlist earlier in July, and they ORD'd in May. So at least they had time before and after NS to prepare themselves for their future studies or what. So PES C, I think, is for those who have health issues and they have their own separate training for the rest of their NS. And obese is if you're overweight, then you have an extra month to prepare your fitness level. This slide is about our timeline in NS. So for myself, I went through BMT 4 months. After that, I went to SCS to become a sergeant, which took roughly 6 months. And finally, I got posted to a unit. And that's why I spent my remaining 1 year, 2 months.
Yeah, for me, I went through BMT 4 months. Then we went through the same section leader course. Then afterwards, I was posted back to BMT as an instructor, which was for 1 year, 2 months. Okay, for next slide, we'll go through phase 1, BMT. Okay, this is the approximate average daily routine of a BMT recruit. You wake up around 5:30, then eat your breakfast, 5:45. You'll have your area cleaning, which is basically keeping your living quarters clean. Then you have your physical activity 1, which is probably your physical training or any other thing they have planned out for that day. Then your activity 2, then your lunch, and afterwards they'll put a lecture or any other things they need to teach you in the army. Then you have your activity 3, this can also be a physical training. Then later you have your dinner, and depending on your schedule that day you might have your night training. Then you have night snacks. Night snacks usually isn't an everyday thing, but like during your confinement week you'll have night snacks, and during like special night training days they'll keep night snacks in order for your sons to have something to eat that night. Then afterwards you have your lights out. This is when you sleep by around 2230. So you'll have 7 hours of rest almost every day. How's the food, you ask? There's 4 categories you can choose from. Okay, there's halal. You can't choose, sorry. There are 4 categories. You might fall under any of these. Halal, non-Muslim, Chinese vegetarian or Indian vegetarian. The food is pretty good actually because it's free. Then there's a lot to eat. Okay? So you don't have to worry much about it. You'll get used to it. Okay, next.
Okay, so this slide is just to give you a sense of how big and what's the structure of BMTC, which is the training institute most of y'all will be posted to if you join the army. So in BMTC there's 4 schools. In each school there's about 7 companies. In each company there's 4 platoons, and each platoon there's 4 sections. So you'll be posted to one section, and each section has about 16 people. So if you do the math, you can calculate like one platoon has 64, a company has 256, and so on. So this is like the command structure within the company. So as a recruit, when you're posted in, your immediate superior will be a section commander, who are sergeants, and their superiors will be a platoon commander, officer commanding, who are officers, and also platoon sergeants and company sergeant major. But you'll understand more when you get posted to NS.
Okay, as you see in these pictures, these are your living quarters. On the left is a 16-man bunk. Usually recruits have a bunk bed, so you will be with your buddy. There's a buddy system which assigns one person who you take care of, and that person will take care of you. You always know about each other. Then next, on the right, you see is a company. Is one building. One whole company is considered one building. So there are 4 platoons, 4 levels. Then each room is for one section. Okay, these are the list of vocations. You can be sent to any of them. As Miss has mentioned earlier, you can indicate your interest, but according to your mark pass, etc., they'll assign you to the vocation they think you're fit to. Me and Akshay were both infantry, we are ground troops. So this is a list of occasions you can possibly go to.
Okay, so now for phase 2, after our BMT period, we both were given the chance to go to SCS to become leaders. So during SCS, we both, the first 2 months consist of, it's called foundation term, which is basically a basic training where every sergeant would go through. After that, the remaining 3 months would be your professional term, which is where you specialize more in your vocation. So for both of us, it's infantry. So I think in SCS, there were a lot of leadership trainings where you do a lot of missions and you'll be put in roles as the different leadership responsibilities. So I think that helped us improve our skills. Definitely there's a more infantry focus. You have a tougher routine so as to build your resilience and such. There's also overseas training at the end of the 5 months period to test your whatever you have learned.
Okay, both of us, as we are the same batch, we went through the same overseas training, which is over at Thailand. The challenges about Thailand is very hot weather, like extremely hot weather, and you have to train in those hot weathers, which is quite challenging. Then your Thailand trip consists mainly of training in the first few weeks. Then at the end there's rest and recreation. They'll show you around Thailand and you can go roam around. Okay, this is me and Akshay. We are the same batch, so we graduated together mostly. So we're kind of lucky in that terms. Okay, phase 3. After I graduated, I was posted back to BMTC as a sergeant. So there mostly involves training recruits. So as I did BMT, the commanders were training me. I'll be a commander who will be training the next batch of recruits. And until my end of my ORD, I just follow the average daily routine and train recruits and take batches after batches.
Yeah, so for myself, I got posted to a unit 1SIR. So over there, it's more different from being a trainer. This is where you are an actual, what they call it, war fighter. So in the sense that the unit is based on the soldiers who get enlisted into the unit. So we train them from start through BMT, but then also we go through additional training known as BFT and IVT. As you see that, this is what advanced infantry skills that they learn, that what we have learned also in SCS. So as to train them to specialize in their own weapons. But as a leader, you're supposed to know everything. So we learn all this in SCS. After that, we do rotations, which is basically, you can call it like advanced missions. And technically, each of the cycles are also a rotation. So in Vairite, a unit would have 5 rotations. Since I was only a first year commander, because I served the first half of the unit's service, and then I ORD'd and got replaced by a second year commander who took over me. So I only did 1 and 2. So 3, 4, 5 will be done by them, and 6 onwards is when I will do in my reservists. So during the unit period, I also got to go to Brunei, which is the other overseas training area as part of infantry. So Brunei, same like any overseas training, it's definitely a tough training, but Brunei is different from Thailand in the sense that it's more wet, more rainy, everyday rains, so you'll be drenched every day, but there's a different set of challenges, but in the end you still overcome it. The food, accommodations, rest and recreation, all these are also as good as Thailand. But in this case, it's different training because in SCS, you were the one being trained, so you had the liberty of being relaxed. But in Brunei, I was a sergeant, so we had to be responsible for those men that we were in charge of. So we had to take care of their safety, responsibility, and as such.
Okay, skills acquired as a sergeant. While you're training, you go through quite a lot of missions, and missions are long and draining and tiring. So while you're doing missions, when you're tired, you still have to make decisions because you're trying to be a leader. You're supposed to lead your section. So this obviously improves your mental toughness because you're making decisions when you're really tired. Okay. Next thing is leadership skills. Obviously, you're going through a leadership school. You'll learn leadership skills, how to take charge of your section, how to command people, how to make them do things even though they're tired. So you learn these skills as a sergeant.
I think to add on to the leadership part also, I think it's quite valuable because there are certain skills that whatever you might not have picked up in school that you can learn in NS, which is quite valuable when you go to, I think most of you go to for further studies. Like for example, like I'm more of an introvert. Like I don't think after school I would have ever imagined myself standing here talking to you all in front of this crowd. But NS has helped me do that. Like during NS, I had a lot of opportunities, I was made to like lead the whole company, like 100, 120 people. So this has trained me to be able to do this today, which is very helpful for me in university now. So then for discipline, yeah, because you have a lot of tough training, you have meet timings, deadlines. This kind of skill set translates well into university, where you have to meet your deadlines, submissions, and such. And fitness, yeah, definitely, I think is self-explanatory.
Okay, this is not a slide that they forced us to put in there, but this is my personal opinion that we really had a positive experience in these 2 years. That's why we wanted to make a slide on why NS is not a waste of 2 years. First of all, it's a break from studies. All your life you have been studying, might as well, if those people planning to take gap year, might as well just do NS. Okay, next thing, memories. You make a lot of great memories there. The trainings you do, everything is a memory. You have never done this before in your life, anything like this. So obviously it's going to be a very special memory. Friendships and connections. The tougher days bond you guys as a section, as a group of people, because you have only yourself and the others to get through it. So friendships and connections are some things that you really get through to you in these 2 years. So these are very important.
You also learn valuable soft skills that you would not have had a chance to learn in school. Because during NS, you interact with people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, the rich, the poor, those who have had mental issues from the past, everyone. So you learn how to deal with different types of people, which will be really important when you go to work in the future. Fitness also, it inculcates in you healthy fitness lifestyle and gives you the motivation to stay healthy. And I think lastly, NS teaches you the importance of simple pleasures in life. Like when you spend 5 to 7 days out in the jungle, then you come back home, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to see your parents, your friends. So these are things you will not realize now when you're in school, but once you go NS, you realize how important the little things are, like, or how important a shower is, a soap, or all these kind of things you will learn. Yeah.
Okay, next slide. These are just a few pictures of us having smiles after all the tough training days. So we just try to show you how enjoyable the life can be. Okay, next slide. These are a few pictures of Akshay's training life. The next slide. Okay, thank you everyone for listening to us talk. This is all 4 of us from IB. We all enlisted together, graduated together, then we ORD together. So it's really special for us. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Akshay and Sachin. Next up, we call upon Marine Fire and Rescue Section Commander Nikhil John Williams to give us an insight into his NS journey.
Okay, good morning, Principal, representatives from the MINDEF, parents and future recruits. So I am Sergeant Nikhil John Williams. I am, as you can see, I'm in a different uniform compared to everybody else here. So that's because I'm from the SEDF. So usually when people talk about NS, they always talk about the SAF Army, right? You always, if you think NS, you're thinking green uniform. So I'm here to give you an alternative perspective to NS, which is you can also, your sons might actually enlist in SEDF as well. So this is my journey. So about myself, I'm from Chennai, India. I came to Singapore in 2006, and because I'm a PR, I had to serve NS. So I studied in GIIS from 2007 to 2013. Then I realized that my passion lied in sailing. So I decided to drop from IBA 1 and join the Singapore Maritime Academy. So I did 3 years of nautical studies. And in October 2016, I graduated, and then in November 2016, I enlisted. So I enlisted straight into SEDF, and in fact, today was my last duty as a sergeant in NS. Okay, so for how SAF has their BMT, SEDF has BRT, which is basic rescue training. So everybody, regardless of their PES, their health issues or whatever, they go through basic rescue training, which provides you with skills like basic CPR, how to use an AED, and using basic rescue tools. So all of them go through that. So I went through the PTP phase, which is the physical training phase. I didn't have enough time to take my IPT. So I went through the PTP phase, which was 3 months. Every day, this was my routine while I was in the recruit phase. So recruit phase, we wake up at 5:30, 5DX. 5DX is your 5 basic exercises. So push-up, sit-up, and I forget the rest, to be honest. 6 o'clock, we go for breakfast. Then 6:30, we do our area cleaning. So NS, you don't have a maid, you don't have anybody to clean your stuff for you, so you clean your own quarters. Then after that, 7:30, we have bunk inspection. After bunk inspection, we proceed for rescue training of physical exercises. I had physical exercises because I was part of the PTP phase. So they are trying to build our physical fitness and also give us the rescue training knowledge that we require. Okay, so same thing, lunch, rescue training again, dinner, night snack, lights out. Okay, so once you've done your 3 months of basic rescue training, then you will be filtered into various vocations. So if, as you know, SCDF, known for fire and rescue, you also have your emergency, you have your EMTs, medical technicians. Then you have provost, which is similar to military police, and other vocations like your gen tech, drivers, and so on. So I was filtered into fire and rescue. So I went from BRT, I went into basic firefighter training, the topmost one. So basic firefighter training was 4 weeks. So you learn basic skills to do with firefighting and rescue. Then from that, I got chosen for specialist cadet course, which allows me to become the sergeant. So SEC is 6 months training. This is a leadership course. During SEC, this was my daily routine. So same, 5 o'clock, wake up. 5:30, we do our own exercise. So SEC, you get a bit more, you don't get controlled by your instructors so much. They expect you to take more leadership roles. So 5:30, we do our own 5BX, 6 o'clock breakfast, so on and so forth. And then you do fire and rescue training. So there's like a field training area in Jalan Bahar, which is the Civil Defense Academy, where literally there's a building built like an HDB, and then every single room can be set on fire. So we go there every day, and then we learn the procedures, the standard operating procedures for fighting fire, for rescuing casualties, and so on. Then the rest of it is similar. So this was me when I passed out of SEC. That's a picture of us going through LPG fire. Then from SEC, out of 60 people, I was the only person chosen for Marine Firefighting Specialist course. Because of my background of nautical studies, I was chosen for MFFSC, Marine Firefighting Specialist course. So that is us. They have another area where they built a ship that stands on landing, and then every room can be set on fire. So that's us going through training. Yeah. MFSC is a bit different, where it's 5 extra weeks to get your specialist stab, this Marine specialist stab. That is office hours, 8 to 1800 hours. So that is combined with regulars from the civil defense. So apart from NSF, there are also regular civil defense personnel going through everything with you. So that is interesting because they will push you, and you're not just there alone. No, they have their own experiences that they impart to you. So there was theory, practical, and certification. So I POP'd basically 3 times, from basic rescue training, then from specialist cadet training, then from Marine Firefighter Specialist training. So after I completed my Marine Specialist course, I was posted to West Coast Marine Fire Station. We work in Rota, so I was posted to Rota 3. So this is us the leftmost picture is us having a barbecue after a long day's work. And then the middle is after training, and then the rightmost is on our boats. Because marine firefighting, so we have 2 boats, fire boats, and that's us fighting, just doing training. Okay, so responsibilities and lessons learned as a sergeant. So I'm the only NSF, being a marine specialist means I'm the only NSF sergeant in the entire rota. So and all the firemen are also NSFs. So I'm the only one that's tasked and given responsibility to control the entire NSF population of West Coast Marine Fire Station. So I learned how to command and control. So you learn to, because we work, like how they explained just now, we work in sections. Sections is a 4-man team. So you are in charge of their safety, you are in charge of the operation, whatever you are doing, and you are in charge of maintaining communications with the operational center. Okay, then I learned firefighting skills, water and height rescue skills because we are marine. Then admin and paperwork. This is quite the they say saikang job. So being the only NSF sergeant, I was in charge of the admin and paperwork for all NSF. So their payroll, their leave forms, etc. Then I got to refresh my nauticals knowledge and skills because apart from being a marine fire rescue specialist, I'm also tasked with being the navigational specialist for boats. So if the boats head out, I'm in charge of the navigation of the boat, making sure that we're traveling in safe waters, etc. Okay. So the leftmost is me rappelling. It's inside our station. So it's me rappelling off the wall. Then in the middle picture is us doing height rescue combined with water rescue. So the casualty, the dummy was in the water. And we set up the tripod to bring it up into the boat. Then the last one is us swimming at Pulau Hantu. So you get to see various islands around Singapore as well. So like I said, SCDF, they work in rotas. So I was rota 3. So how it works is I am 24 hours on duty, then I get 48 hours off. So that's always standard. So we work 8 to 8. So 8 o'clock, we fall in, we head count for the day. Then 8:15, we do our equipment checks because the boats all have a wide variety of equipments. So we make sure that they are up to standard for the day. Then we do a scenario drill, which will be a fire drill or a rescue drill or a water rescue drill. Then we have lunch. We do maintenance of equipment. Then 1700 is PT. We run or we play football or we swim, whatever. Then we have night lecture at 8 o'clock. So we will discuss more theoretical ways of fighting fire, approaches to your casualty, rescue situations, etc. Then we do our routine at 10 o'clock. Routine is station cleaning, basically, because again, you don't have a cleaner. Then we wake up at 5 a.m. We touch up on our routine. At 6 o'clock, we do equipment drill. So we familiarize ourselves with the equipment. And 7 o'clock, we have something called BTM. BTM is, SCDF has KPI for each task. So like you gotta pitch a ladder within a minute, or you gotta set up a hydrant within 45 seconds, and so on. So they are SCDF is very particular with timing. So we gotta turn out within 1 minute. As soon as you hear the alarm for the fire, you gotta get out of station with all your gear within 1 minute. Okay, so SCDF is a bit different where you get frontline experiences, so you're actually turning out with actual people for actual incidents. So this was me after a container fire in Pasir Panjang Terminal. So like I said, you work in sections, so this is my 4-man team. The one beside me is actually a regular. He was my driver. I am the section commander. And then my 2 firefighters on the left. So I was first at scene, and I was in charge of, like I said, communication, the initial firefighting efforts. And then the port workers were injured when they tried to bring down the container that was on fire. So also in charge of giving out medical first aid to them. So you can see our bunker gear all full of, because the thing that was on fire was charcoal. So this is us after 4 hours of firefighting. So that is my experience in this past 2 years. And yeah, I would say it was truly meaningful and fruitful. And also, I've been able to keep in touch with my nautical knowledge because I got into marine. So it's not really a waste of time of 2 years. So yeah, with that, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you all once again for giving us a better perspective of the NS training. I'm sure our parents and students have benefited from listening to you. We would now like to invite another school alumnus, dog handler Revant Rajesh, who's a medical student in NTU. He will be sharing his experiences about joining university after his NS training.
Okay, good morning all. My name is Revant Rajesh. That's me. I'm currently I'm a batch 2016, same as Akshay and Gaurav and Sachin. We did IB. Currently I'm studying medicine at Lee Kong Chuan School of Medicine, NTU. Graduating in year 2023. Yeah. So during national service I was part of the SAF and servicing as a dog handler under Military Police Command. Yeah. So unlike the other two before speakers, I will not be speaking about what I did in Army, but my topic is getting back to university for a professional degree after NS. So I know most of the parents here are concerned whether after 1 year, 10 months or 2 years or so of national service, whether it is possible to get back to the regular studying routine of even more high demanding university level of education. So fret not, you're not alone. Every Singaporean and PR are having to go through the same thing as you. And there are a lot of people who have done it successfully, and so could you. Okay, one difference between us, especially GIIS students and the A-level students, is that they have a much larger gap. For example, 5 months around there to actually mentally prepare themselves and get refreshed on getting back into university. But for us, like for me, I ORD'd on the 3rd of August, and then I had to start university on the 6th of August. So my army duties had night shift work, which had affected my sleep-wake cycle. So I was quite worried whether this would affect me in university, especially whether I'd be able to regulate my sleep pattern back when university started. But when I started university, there was actually no problem because of there's no repercussions on my sleep-wake cycle because of the atmosphere or the university presence to us. It's a very, for example, our local universities are world-class and they provide a very highly rigorous and fast-paced curriculum. And you really have no time to think about army or even think that you won't be able to cope. And among your peers are all very much motivated. So I don't think you have to fear about not being able to cope as such. And furthermore, if you're going to the local universities, they also provide refresher courses specifically catered to NS men. For if you're going to go for a course like engineering or the sciences. So these courses basically help you in refreshing and making the transition between army and university a much more pleasant one. And during army itself, although I understand that during bookouts, especially those who are sergeants, will most likely try to rest during their bookout days because they're very much tired from the trainings. I think you must try to at least motivate yourself and keep in touch with the subjects that you have studied during IB. And for me, for medical school, I had to write several medical exams like UKCAT, BMAT, and the ISAT. So, and some of my friends were also writing the SATs and the ACTs for the US schools. So I feel like all this kind of helps in regularly keeping in touch with your subjects once in a while, and also try to always get hold of a particular book or read as much of books as possible during NS. Like my friend, my section mate, he was going to go for business and economics double major in NUS. I always found him with an economics book with his hand. So during your admin time or free time, essentially in the army, you can just bring your books and just relax and have a read, because you have 2 years and it's a lot of time. And even this 2 years, even if you're not very sure of what course you want to do after you just graduated from IB, this 2 years you can use it as just sit down and think about what course you want to do, what is your passion as such. Yep. And yeah, always expanding your knowledge and keeping your brain actively engaged while in NS, the 2 years is a really good thing. I also try to volunteer for any non-profit organizations or a particular department of a non-profit organization that is pertaining to the course that you want to study. So, for instance, for me, I wanted to go do medicine, so I volunteered at a health a non-profit organization for which provides subsidized healthcare to migrant workers. So this kind of things. My another friend, he volunteered at a particular financial firm just to help out the data entry or something like that. But then at the same time, he was able to gain a lot of insight into the business management and financial structure of the organization. Also, there are a lot of online courses, for example, from Harvard, and which for programming, and these help a lot. And a lot of seniors who have also engaged in these courses have benefited from them. So all these stand as experiences and familiarize you with the course of study in university, and also makes your transition from army to university a much more easier one. Okay, to be completely honest, like I admit that there might be a few people who initially will find it struggling to start with, to begin with university. This is solely because of the fact that you have not been familiar with the classroom setting for the past 2 years, and suddenly you're put into a classroom back. And okay, it's totally normal. Initially, you can take it slowly, and as soon as you acclimatize with the surrounding, you immediately start to pick up the pace. And because the curriculum of NUS or NTU or any other schools that you're going in university is quite fast paced, and you have no time to, and you notice that you have no time to lose by just contemplating on how I would not be able to cope. So the such thoughts will actually fade away, and so us, all of us who have ORD here are testaments to how it is very much possible to getting back to university successfully here today. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Revan, for sharing your fascinating experience. Parents behave as a pillar of support during their child's transition from a student to a national serviceman. We invite Mrs. Yamini Chandiramani, parent of Lavneet Chandiramani, to give us a parent's perspective on the NS program.
Good morning, everyone. Frankly telling you, I was very, very apprehensive about my son joining the national service, especially so because he was from that international school. I wasn't sure whether he would be able to integrate, intermingle, make friends, but all the same, I can give you rest assurance that things are not as how you perceive. They are much, much better and streamlined. At the time when my son registered, we were invited for a tour at the BMTC, where we could go and see how the bunks are, what they get to eat, how the training is, and it gave us a rest assurance. And we even tried the food. We were asked to try the food, and trust me, it was edible. It was tasty and wholesome, which means that it had all the nutrients. They were provided fruits, desserts, everything. So in that aspect, you can be rest assured that they are in safe hands. After the enlistment, when my son had to actually go and get, go and stay for 2 years now away from home, we were very, very worried, in a sense that I wasn't sure whether he'll be able to cope up with the training. We were given to understand that training is tough, demanding, and sometimes it can be physically and mentally challenging. But all said and done, he passed through his BMTC and he got a good break. He was posted as a combat medic at Nisun camp for almost 12 weeks, and thereafter to MRF, which is that is Medical Response Force, which is also a specialist force which deals with chemical warfare. And he was exposed to gas chambers, nerve agents, which also was very frightening. At the end of it, I used to ensure that every time he sends me one text message just to tell me that he was fine. At every change in unit or any change in training, we were given the commanders and the instructors' handphone numbers, just in case if you had to reach out to anyone to check on your son, or if there was no message for them, you could also check on their welfare, just as to how they were. So in this aspect, it was reassuring that they were accessible at any given time. That doesn't mean that you just call up at random for petty things, but yes, you had a number in your hand to reach out to them. Over and above that, the units also have a family day where the families are invited to come and visit. And you also attend a POP, that is a pass-out parade. At the time of attending the POP, you feel a sense of pride. You get to know what your son has achieved in that span, in that unit. And it was a bit difficult, but all the same, when I see him today, there are lots of things I would have never anticipated my son to do. As of today, I can tell you that there is a lot that he can do, because I think when you just let them go free and they're pushed to the pillar, with strict discipline, and that's when you actually see their true potentials come out. So I hope that you'll give your son the same opportunity without any apprehensions or conditioning them, and I'm sure you will see winners in them eventually. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring and reassuring words. I'm sure our audience is now better prepared to dealing with their son's adjustment issues during the NS training. A gentle reminder to parents to keep posting their questions on the pigeonhole. May we now invite our alumni, Infantry Section Commander Trainer Gaurav Peter Mathai, Combat Medic Instructor Lavneet Chandramani, and Infantry Avinash Pradhan on stage for the Q&A session. We also call upon the representatives from MINDEF as well as Mrs. Yamini Chandramani to address audience questions. We invite our head boy, Likhit Raghunath, and Secretary Student Council, Navneet Ramparat, to be the moderators for this session.
Good morning to one all present here. So we have a few questions which the parents have posted on. One question which is quite common was that the parents are asking whether citizenship was offered upon completion of NS. Is it a common trend?
Hi, good morning. Yes, okay, the question on citizenship, right? So the citizenship is granted by the Immigration Checkpoints Authority, not MINDEF. And the assessment to grant citizenship is based on many factors. It's a holistic assessment of your assimilability and also your ability to contribute to Singapore. But what we can say is that completion of NS is a plus factor in the assessment of citizenship. So it will put you in a very good position. But like I said, we do not assess citizenship applications, so we're not able to guarantee that.
Next question was, being an international school, will there be more delay before the boys get enlisted compared to local schools? More months to wait before starting their NS obligations?
No, so there's no difference. The promise that we will try to enlist everybody within 4 to 6 months of graduation applies to all schools, but we would like to highlight that this is contingent on them getting their medical grade. So if, for instance, you miss your medical appointments and we are unable to grade you in time, then that would inevitably introduce some delay in your enlistment date.
One more question being, there has been cases of ragging and stricter punishments heard in the news. So are these cases isolated or are they common?
Okay, so we have some basic safety regulations we follow through. We strictly do adhere to these. There are cases, yes, maybe once or twice, but it's a very uncommon thing for it to happen on a daily basis. Rest assured, your son will be perfectly fine. All commanders and leaders even my batchmates, everyone is trained to ensure we follow these rules, so you have nothing to be worried about there.
So maybe I'll add on from the MINDEF's perspective. We take a very firm stand against bullying, any forms of bullying in the SAF, SEDF and SPF. And all servicemen have channels to the commanders, the supervisors, or even their peers to raise concerns if they observe such bullying take place or if they are victims of bullying. And all such matters are taken very seriously. Investigations will be conducted, and if wrongdoing is found, the perpetrators will also be disciplined accordingly.
I also just like to add that, there's an Army Safety Hotline, so if you Google Army Safety Hotline, then there's a number that you can call, and all feedback is anonymous, so you don't need to worry if you don't want to go through your superiors in NS.
Is it common that people who go to national service can easily get into their dream colleges, whether foreign or local?
For me, when I graduated, I did apply overseas. I wouldn't say for locally NS matters. Whether you're an officer, an instructor, or just a man, I don't think it matters. But for overseas, the fact that you serve 2 years of NS, I think it does add a plus point to your application.
Right, sorry, just an additional point. From our previous engagements with also other international schools, and college administrators, the feedback that they provided and also shared is that our boys, after going through national service, they bring with them different and unique experiences, and which could put them in a good position if they were to apply for universities later on, because if you're looking at prestigious universities, they look at your personal statements, and they also look at that extra X factor that you have. And the feedback that we get is that NS puts our boys through these different experiences. They mature, they grow, they fill leadership positions, and in NS, they learn how to interact with their peers, and all this just puts them in a good position. So that's all I have to add.
Another question being, what are the career and scholarship opportunities in the Army or the SEDF after full-time NS? As in, if you want to continue to be in the Army or want to pursue a job in the Army.
Okay, for Army, you can sign on, which is, they might ask during your BMT, when you enter your BMT, there will be various talks by Navy, Air Force, Army itself, whether you want to sign on. For me, I personally did consider it during BMT. Firstly, you must know, I believe most people here are PRs. Firstly, to sign on, you need to be a citizen. You can put in your application, but they'll only approve it once you convert to a citizen. The sign-on bond, for most cases, is around 6 years. If you're eligible for a scholarship by the Army, they do sponsor your local studies. Even for certain people, they are overseas studies. The bond is 6 years. 2 years of your NS is counted in the 6 years, so it turns out to be 4 years. Your training will only be 1 year, after which you disrupt your Army. You'll actually go into uni, you study for 4 years or 5 years for your full degree. When you return back, you return back as an officer, either as a PC, and then move on from that rank. For me, I can only say about the SAF side of it. SDF,
apart from your scholarships, the Army provides bursaries and study sponsorships as well. So if you're not an officer, if you're a non-commissioned officer, you're eligible for various study sponsorships or bursaries. And in this case, you'll be getting an allowance when you're studying, and let's say when you're back, you finish your bond.
Another question, this is for the alumni. Coming from an Indian school, not having gone through the local school system, did you have challenges or difficulties in mingling and integrating and working as a team with the local boys?
Personally, I did feel that, because I hung out occasionally with local students, but that was while playing football. It wasn't really much interaction. But so all the recruits will go through the first 2 weeks, which is it's like a physical conditioning week where you'll stay in camp, you'll get used to the regime, you'll get used to everything over there, and at that time you'll be able to mingle very well. You'll have a buddy who's pretty similar with the interests in terms of what you do, how you behave, things like that. So I think in terms of mingling and interaction, you'll be fine. And I think NS will also give you the chance to be a little more proactive and maybe, open up your senses a little bit here and there.
So after class 12, you can actually get into admission into local or international universities. So for local universities, you can differ for 2 years. So do you guys know about what is the process or how the process differs for international universities?
We don't defer people for university studies. We are only allowed a deferment up to the first education bar, which is A-levels or IB diploma. And then you have to complete your full-time NS before you go for university studies. But you can disrupt your full-time NS to go for university studies, although there are specific criteria that needs to be met. And again, because the international students don't follow the same cohorts as local schools, it might be better for me to take your question separately, so you can come look for me after that. So for local universities, we do, and as well as a number of overseas universities, we do understand that, based on my experience, they are quite understanding that Singaporeans or PRs need to serve 2 years of full-time NS, and most of the time, they do hold a place for 2 years. If required, we can provide a supporting letter to indicate that they need to serve compulsory 2 years of full-time NS and to seek the school support to hold that place for 2 years. Yeah, but I have also encountered situations where certain schools, for example LSE, is very firm on only holding the place for 1 year. So I would highly recommend that ahead of applying, please check and read the school policies before you actually go ahead and apply, because we don't want you to waste your chance and end up losing a place in school after having applied, because they will not hold your place for 2 years. But by and large, most schools do hold a place for 2 years.
Another question, this could be directed to the alumni. What do you do over the weekends, like after training?
Okay, normally we book out on a Friday evening and book back in Sunday evening, so you get about a bit more than 48 hours over the weekend. Most of the times I spent it at home with my family. I just enjoyed time with my family, went out once in a while with my friends, get together with some guys. So just try to relax and rest over the weekends. And halfway through NS, I started applying to universities overseas, so I used my weekends to focus on my uni applications as well.
Quite similar to Gaurav as well. My training was pretty tiring, so I'd come back on a Friday evening, probably sleep till like Saturday 11 or 12. Then wake up, and during NS, I really miss my family a lot, so I used to spend a lot of time with them. And to ensure that I didn't really miss out on my academics, I just used to try and just catch up with my studies once in a while, or just try and do any online courses as well.
Even mine is quite similar. I did apply for overseas universities when I was taking the SAT too. So I spent most of my weekends studying for my SAT or applying to universities. Other than that, of course, spending time with my parents and just sleeping after a hard week of training.
So does NS provide structure-based training for physical ailments, example asthma or any other physical ailments?
As a basic military training instructor, we're aware of the different needs of recruits, the different physical ailments they have, different physical conditions. Normally recruits with asthma or childhood asthma, they're given a blue band and they have to carry their inhaler for every training. Similarly, children who've suffered from heat injuries previously are red banded. And if your child gets some sort of physical ailment during NS, they'll have this status called 10B or light duties, where they're relieved from training. Instead, they're asked to rest, recuperate, things like that. And physically, if your child is obese, there's a 19-week obese program, and I took one batch of obese recruits. So I got to see how that was like. So in terms of training, it's very progressive. You start from a very low level. As time moves on, your intensity of the training picks up, and towards the end of BMT, you should be able to reach a certain physical standard expected of a soldier.
So my vocation was exactly the same as his. I was training recruits as well. The only thing I can say to the recruits is if you do have any physical ailments such as asthma, just please make sure you declare it at the start so then your commander can know and then he can make the decisions accordingly during your physical activities.
Just wanted to add that we do take this very seriously, so I would strongly you should definitely highlight any ailment that you have during the medical screening process ahead of enlistment so that all this can be taken into account in your medical grading as well, and you will not be deployed to places where it is actually dangerous for your health.
To add on, I went for my medical screening recently, and at each stage they asked if I had asthma, because asthma is taken quite seriously. So in the medical screening process, you can actually declare all the ailments you have, and at each stage they're quite serious about it.
Another question was, some of the boys in the Indian schools will be 17 plus years when they finish school. Can they start NS earlier, or can they only start when they're 18?
Okay, so I graduated in May 2015 and I was 17 at that time and my birthday is in December. So what I did was apply for voluntary early enlistment. So that way I enlisted, I made sure first of all I completed my IPPT. So once I passed that means I could do 1 year, 10 months. So I enlisted on the October batch. I was still 17 at that time. And when I completed my 2 years of NS, I was 19. So there is that chance for you to enlist voluntarily early. You have that option. And it would help definitely if you can pass your IPPT before that. Okay, regarding the application process, it's been a while, so I can't exactly remember, but I had gone to CMPB, so at the reception over there, there is a form you definitely have to fill out, yes, and I think you can just submit that, and then after a couple of weeks, they'll get back to you, and yeah, that IPPT is a plus point for sure.
So if you have any doubts, just either call up CMPB or make a trip down to ask them for that form if you want to enlist early. But do note that the youngest, you will only accept applicants who are above 16.5 years old.
So another question being, midway through NS, if there's a status change from PR to citizenship, does it make any difference in the training opportunities available?
The short answer is no. So midway during NS, if you have been granted citizenship, you will continue in your vocation in where you are deployed. Because in deploying our servicemen, we do not take into consideration your PR or SC status, or PR or Singapore citizenship status. Rather, we take into consideration your physical, medical fitness, your aptitude, like what my colleague Lydia mentioned, your MAPAS scores, your ability to complete certain requisite tasks. And after being deployed to a certain vocation, you are expected to remain in that vocation because you are already trained or midway through training and continue with that.
Another question was, what is the probability that enlisted boys are assigned their preferred vocation?
Okay, so this initiative to allow pre-enlistees to indicate their interest in the vocation started, the first batch of boys were in November 2017. And after November 2017, a few other batches of boys were also given their preferences. I'm not able to share with you the probability because right now we're still studying, it's a very new initiative and we're still studying. But I would like to assure you that your preference is important to us and it is taken into consideration. The very reason why we introduced this is because we want our boys to take more ownership in NS. And as far as possible, we will try to assign you to your preferred vocation. If you are not assigned to your preferred vocation, I would also like to encourage you to keep an open mind and to go through that training knowing that you will still be equipped with a certain set of unique skills and you will emerge with a certain set of unique experiences from that vocation. And each vocation, of course, is equally important and you are contributing equally to the defense of Singapore.
Yeah. Another question being, are there any vocations which deal with cyber safety?
All right. So also recently we have this new scheme called the Cyber NSF scheme. This is where a select group of servicemen, after going through rigorous testing and also assessment, they are deployed to become cyber defenders, in short. And so they will be engaged in real-world cyber threats, cyber operations, and they will do certain advanced tasks to do like analysis of certain malware threats or incident response in the cybersphere. This scheme is open to all pre-enlistees. If you are interested, you can go online to the MINDEF website. More information will be available there. But maybe I'll just share with you a brief summary of the process. If you are interested in that scheme, you need to submit your application about 1 year before your enlistment, because there are certain tests that you need to go through, and the tests are rigorous. We only select the best to be awarded this Cyber NSF scheme, and if you are awarded, then you will be given a choice to serve, whether it's a 3-year or 4-year NS. So this is a longer period, because we will train you more, and because of that, you would also be required to serve for a longer period of time. Yeah, but for more information, just check out the MINDEF website.
Another question was, do pre-enlistees often prepare for the MAPAS test beforehand? And if they do,
no, you do not prepare for the MAPAS test. It's an aptitude test. It's to test your aptitude. It's something you can't prepare for.
There are some model questions on the website. So they give some model questions of the MAPAS test, but it just gives you an idea of how it will be. But there's actually not much preparation needed. So another question being, are you provided with your daily routine, or do you make it by yourself?
Every day you're issued company routine orders prepared by the officer commanding of the company. So every day there's a first parade and a last parade. The last parade basically tells you it's the end of the day, no more activities left. And at the last parade, normally the company orderly sergeant or any other sergeant in the company will read out the routine orders, or the platoon commander will read out the routine orders prepared by the officer commanding. So the routine orders will tell you the things you're going to do the next day, what time you're going to wake up, the activities of the day, what you expected to do, and what you expected to complete. So basically, in the army, it's pretty easy that way. You wake up, you know what to wear, you know what's going to happen, and you know when you're going to sleep, and you know when you're going to get food. So it's pretty easy that way.
Yeah, just to add on, the company they have recently started where they provide the training schedule for the next 2 to 3 weeks in advance, so the recruits can prepare. You know, if they want to go back home, if they have any plans over the weekend, then it's easy for them to schedule as well. You know, so there's no unplanned event as such.
Quite a few parents are actually concerned regarding the safety standards in place. So if you could please enlighten us on some of the safety standards in place during NS to ensure the safety of the recruits. That would be great.
I'd like to talk on this. I was an instructor in THECOM for 14 months, so I did 4 batches of recruits. We have to adhere to something called the TSR, Training Safety Regulations. And every once in a while it's updated, and every commander has to adhere to the TSR. And the TSR is put in place such that all safety standards are met. If the weather is too hot, let's say if the weather is more than 33 degrees Celsius, recruits cannot work past more than 15 minutes. So you have a 15-minute work cycle and a 30-minute rest cycle, with constant hydration as well to make sure that they don't get dehydrated. So in terms of the weather and training, SAF has covered it pretty well. Other safety standards, before any activity, a commissioned officer will review the ground. He'll be the chief safety officer, he'll review the ground. He'll look out for potential threats, potential hazards that could occur during training, highlight it out, find possible solutions, and let the other commanders know what we can do to avoid these potential hazards. Most of the times, training incidents are very rare, but most commanders are always on the lookout for this, and safety is a topmost priority for most commanders.
Right, so just to add from the MINDEF perspective, but I think it's a lot more convincing when we have alumni sharing with you about their experiences. Okay, so from our perspective is similar, as in I would like to echo what he said, that MINDEF takes safety very seriously. And when you talk about safety of an organization, often you will think about what are the safety processes, standards, and the systems, but most importantly is the people. And we take a lot of effort to build up a safety culture within the SAF, as well as SEF and SPF. And as you know, one of the core values in the SAF is safety. And so safety is taken very seriously in every step of planning of the training as well as execution.
Another question being, on average, how many days off do you get in the 2 years?
For one working year, you're entitled to 14 days of leave. Offs are more incentive-based. If you're doing a good job, you'll get a few offs here once in a while.
So my unit, we usually do standbys, which means that on weekends we had to stay in camp. In case there was like an emergency or any incident, we were activated. That's why we had standbys in camp. But to make up for us staying over the weekends in camp, we were given 1 day off, which was during the day. And yeah, we would normally have to redeem the off within the same month. So on average, I would say I had around 6 standbys, or 1 standby every month, I would say. Yeah.
One parent wishes to know what are the different food options offered at SCDF, if Sergeant.
So food options during your recruit phase and your training phase is similar to what SAF offers. Once you're posted to station, you go out and buy your own food. Whoever is free can go out and buy their own food. So the variety and choices is unlimited as far as food options concerned. So join SCDF.
Thank you very much for answering these questions, and I hope all the questions have been answered. Back to the MCs.
With that, we come to the end of our Q&A session. The screen will display a link to a site on which parents can give their feedback. So that's a link. We sincerely hope that this program has made the transition from a civilian lifestyle to a military one easier and has instilled confidence in our enlistees to better adjust themselves to regimental life. Parents who still have unanswered questions may approach our alumni as well as the MINDEF representatives at the Visitor Center on Level 2. We thank Mr. Harold, Ms. Lydia and Ms. Samantha for gracing us with their presence. We also thank our alumni for sharing their experiences as National Servicemen and Mrs. Yamini Chandramani for sharing her experience as a parent. We now invite Melissa Ma'am on stage to felicitate the guest speakers. We also request our other alumni and Ms. Samantha to join us on stage. We thank our respected principal, our teachers, and our dear parents and students who took time off their busy schedules to attend this event. With that, we come to the end of the session. We request everyone to rise for the national anthem.